Hello, Hacks and Hobbies listeners. Are you looking to share your opinions, give me feedback, or tell me what you're thinking? Send me a voice message. Voice messages are an easy way for you to send me audio that might end up in future episodes of Hacks and Hobbies. They're the latest feature from Anchor, the platform I use to make this podcast. Here are some of the things I would love to hear from you. Are you enjoying the direction the podcast has taken for season 2? Is there someone I can interview that will absolutely help you gain more knowledge? What do you think of the different topics that I talk about on the podcast with my guests? You can send me a voice message right now from wherever you're listening. Just tap the link in my show notes. I can't wait to hear from you. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. In Season 2 of Hacks and Hobbies, we're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around. In this episode, I get to speak with Doug Cohen. I had the opportunity to work with him in past companies, and we've stayed in connection since then. And today we get to talk with him about some cool stuff. Some of the things on the podcast I've been talking about is mobile video production, and that's one of the things that Doug is interested in as well. Hey, Doug, thanks for taking the time to come on the podcast.
Great. Thanks for inviting me onto the podcast. I've never done one of these things before, and they say you never forget your first time. It's just unfortunate mine's with a man, but oh well.
Well, you know what? This podcasting is very addicting because it is a very easy medium. Unlike video, you don't have to show your face. It's all about your audio, and you get to, when you talk to people that you like and you admire, it just becomes so natural, like having a conversation with your friend. I mean, the one time that we had a good time was when we were driving together back to work, or back
my
from
car
work.
was broken down, and you gave me a ride home. We both lived pretty far away from work, and we were sitting in a packed highway, and we had plenty of good quality time to talk about. I think we solved most of the problems in the world.
Yeah, we did.
I just don't think we shared them with anybody.
I know. See, so if you were recording that episode.
I love the concept of sitting and having a conversation and letting it be organic, and then, sharing it with a whole bunch of other people that are listening that may also find some of it interesting, or they might find it boring. By the way, anybody out there who's listening, if you find it boring, from the channel. I myself like serious coffee house, but that's just a reflection of me getting older and liking to listen to rock music more softly now.
Nice. Yeah. So a lot of us podcasters, we enjoy the same thing that you just mentioned, just hanging out with friends and talking about what we love. There's I was talking to a friend of mine, and he recently just started his podcast to document the process of creating a movie. And you mentioned about making some music videos, and he's going to be using some DSLRs, and since he recently moved to New York, he's like, there's so much happening here. So to get into some of the things that you might, need to do home video production, essentially, for music videos.
Can I just interrupt one more?
Of course.
I am amazed at how kind of easy and low bar this was to set up. And I just wanted to share that thought because I literally clicked on a link which launched a browser, and next thing I know, we're talking, and I see some representation of the audio of you and me talking, and it couldn't be easier to set this up and do one of these things. So
absolutely,
I'm impressed. I might have to follow you and do it myself.
You betcha. So, and that's the power of the Zencaster tool. which enables multiple parties to be having a conversation together and recording some high quality audio. I know a lot of people that I know use either Zoom or Skype or Google Hangouts, and they use the recording features of that software. And sometimes the audio quality is good, sometimes it's not so much. It works. Zoom works really good, especially when I want to bring in somebody that's remote and doesn't have access to a desktop. Then they could do a Zoom conversation, and then I can record the audio through that one as well.
Right. So anyway, music. So I'm interested
yes.
in music. I'm kind of an amateur wannabe guy who hangs out a lot in my room. I call it I have a little sign that says this is my happy place, and my wife and family. I do feel safest and most free in my room. Some people do it in their car. I go to the bathroom. For me, it's this little room. And so I'm recording some music, but I want to shoot some video. And some of that is me just playing with the music, and some of it may be, other scenes. But, I don't know how to go about that. How do I start that process? What tools do I need? And I know that you do a lot of that stuff. So I'm just interested in learning from you so that I can get started.
Absolutely. So some of the things that you need, and you already have a smartphone, so you're already halfway there.
I have access to more than one.
So you have more than one phone.
Is it a lot more beneficial to have more than one going on at the same time?
No.
Or do you just shoot scenes individually and then
So there's multiple schools of thoughts. And if you look at so there's several ways a video is produced. For example, sitcoms, they use multiple camera angles, so you can switch. They're having the scene happening at the same time, and they'll switch the camera angles based on who's talking. So they do one take, and then they have multiple cameras running, so that way they can grab multiple angles. And most of the times, it's like any sitcom. If you see, they have kind of like a square room setup, but then you only see two walls at a time. You won't see the third and the fourth wall because that's where the cameras are sitting.
Okay.
And so they have these third and fourth wall is where they have the camera gear, and they're never crossing lines. Like you won't see the other camera because you always want to make sure that one camera doesn't see the other camera. So that's called crossing the lines.
Okay.
So you could do, and then if you look at movies, they have a single camera setup. Basically, the same camera is being used to record every single scene. All the record backs and over the shoulder, all those are using the same one camera because the actors are so good at delivering the lines, they will repeat that same line over and over, and you can capture it and then edit it together. So I like to use two camera setup because that way I can get two angles of me talking, and if I skipped or I'm forgetting something, I can switch from one camera audio and cut the audio part that I don't like and then switch to the other angle. So that way I can break up dead space and have more engagement in the audio.
So my questions there are, if I were to use more than one camera, how do I, and in all cases, if it was one or multiple cameras,
sure,
I'd want to sync it to an audio track that already existed. So
yes,
whatever I'm recording through the video, basically got to toss because I will have pre-recorded audio. So the question I guess I have is, how do I sync the video to the audio? Is that just in the desktop editing tool?
Yes, it would be in the desktop editing tool. Plus, there is one specific application that I'm thinking about that will enable you to, first of all, edit your final shot in it. So, for example, in TV studios, they use something called a switcher. The switcher has a view of all the live cameras that are, recording audio or recording video, and they can say, okay, go to scene one, or go to camera one, go to camera two, go to camera three. So there's a on-set director that's talking to the camera, the switch operator to switch between the different camera angles. And whenever you were watching live sports, they have the same setup. They have multiple cameras online that are, recording their angles. And then there's a switchboard. When you're watching a sports game, the switcher dude is the one that's switching between one angle to the other angle. And then they do the replays of, basketball shots or whatever. So that's the switcher studio duty to do.
Because one of the things I was thinking, so the digital audio workstation tool that I use has a feature that I really like called comping. And what it does is it just lets you do multiple takes of a certain passage of music. And it stacks them. And then what you can do is you can highlight the different takes and it'll composite together one take. And so I was kind of hoping that if I had something that allowed me to, kind of import multiple shots, some way sync them up so they're synced to the audio track, and then go through and literally just highlight the sections that I want. And
absolutely.
Is that the way these things generally work, or do they?
Yeah. So when you're doing video production or video editing, there's several applications. There's Adobe Premiere Pro. There's Final Cut Pro, iMovie. I'm not sure if is able to do that, but I've used Premiere Pro before. But in Final Cut Pro, you can bring in all of the video that you have, and you can say, okay, this is my first take, this is my second take, this is my third take, and since there's audio present on each of the video files, it can sync through those takes, and then you can choose which take you want to use for your scene.
So it automatically syncs the videos based on the audio. Okay, that's good.
Based on the audio attached to that video. Now, so that's one of the reasons.
Record an audio track too?
Right. So your camera is able to record the audio track. So what you would do, since you have 2 camera or 3 camera setup, you have both of those cameras or both of those phones are recording audio as well. Right. And if they're recording the same audio, and let's say you have pre-recorded audio, what you do is you play that pre-recorded audio and then record the 2 videos. And then when you bring in all of those videos in, they can sync up based on that one audio. And then let's say you don't want to use the audio from those videos. You don't need to. You can lay in your main audio track in there that matches up.
That makes a lot of sense to me. That's great info. So let me ask you, in terms of shooting the scene, as it were, lighting, what are your thoughts? Like what, I got the lights that are in my house, but I'm assuming I might want different lighting than that, or no?
Yeah, you would need different lighting. Again, it comes down to what kind of look you're trying to go for. If you think there's some dark spots, you can definitely cover them up with adding some more light. Most of the times in homes we have yellow light, and it's great for us for our eyes because it doesn't hurt as much. But on studio sets, you will notice that they have white light or daylight. So if you do not have that kind of lighting, there's ways that you can change the color profile, but it's recommended that you get some white light. And there's several lighting kits that you can purchase at a lower price. But again, you have to make sure the lights are not coming in your shot. And for example, set up a scene for me, so then we can figure out.
All right, so let's just say I'm in my little area where I've got my guitar and a couple of guitars on the wall, my little amp and my effects there, and I have a little chair that's like a slipper chair. It's like 16 inches off the floor, and I'm going to play with the music, and I'm going to have a camera that's kind of looking at me performing, and another one that's probably more focused into what my hands are doing on the guitar,
the instrument.
Yeah, and then I'm not looking for some sort of extravagance, but something that doesn't. I mean, I guess the goal is to make it look pro quality, but not make it look super dramatic.
Yep.
So I don't know what kind of lighting I should get, how many of those things, and I mean, obviously, some of that's going to be dictated by cost because I don't want to spend more than like 100, $150.
Sure. Do you have tall ceilings?
Uh, I don't know. I think they're standard, like 12 feet.
Okay, those are tall ceilings compared to mine because I only have 8-foot ceilings.
What kind of a house do you live in that only has 8 foot ceiling?
Sorry, they're probably 9-foot ceilings.
I mean, I'm not a tall person, but I don't think it's made to have 8 feet ceiling.
No, you're right. Probably 8-foot doors.
Maybe
So
9. I don't know. But
so all you need is simple LED lights. So you already have light from the ceiling, and that's filling in the certain air, and looks like you're not moving a lot. I mean, you're moving in a certain respect, but you're not really walking around. You're sitting in one place.
Right.
So the two camera setup is, one's going to be focused on your guitar, the other is focus on the whole scene. So you can cut between those two scenes as what you're doing with the guitar. And you can even have 3 cameras, one maybe on the neck, one on the where you're strumming. I don't know.
I've got some old iPhones laying around, so I figured it doesn't hurt to just,
Yeah.
shoot. And some of them have different quality. But by the way, what settings do I want to shoot in?
So you want to shoot probably all of them at 1080, 30 frames per second, or 24 if you're looking for the filmic look.
Is that a setting on the? I'm looking at my phone right now. Is that a setting on the phone?
So that would be a setting in the camera camera settings, and there is a specific app that I would recommend that you get, and it's called Filmic Pro. But then there's another application called. There's 2 specific. The first one is Filmic Pro.
Filmic Pro.
And the second application is called Sling. Sorry. Is it Sling? No. It's called Switcher Studio. So Switcher Studio app is really cool. They do have a subscription model. So what's cool about this specific one is that it enables you to connect up to 9 iPhones together.
Oh, cool.
So you can have up to 9 different angles. And let's say you have an iPad, you can, on the iPad, have your main switcher area. So what you can do, it's really great for live video, so you can broadcast it live on Facebook. And let's say you have your iPad in front of you. Well, you definitely want to have a third person do the switching, because as you're performing, you can be switching the camera. Right. But it's great to record multiple angles, and then you can put them together. There's another app, a sister app by Switcher Studio producers called Rico. Let me look at their website.
While you're looking at that, I'm looking at Filmic Pro.
Mm-hmm.
That's $15, which I don't mind.
Yes.
It's
right.
It's my budget. It's in my studio budget.
Yeah.
But this is the thing that I'm actually going to shoot the videos. I'm going to use this app.
Right. Yeah. So so what's cool about, I haven't tried this myself, but Filmic Pro has a remote control functionality. For example, let's say you've got
an app. I see it.
Right. So you can set up one phone on your tripod, and who's going to trigger it? Now you're sitting on your seat. So you can trigger it from another phone and say, hit record. So you can record from multiple angles using using Filmic Pro.
But I don't know, since this isn't really going to be live, I'm not sure I need any switching or remote. So I was just going to walk around, turn each of the cameras on, then go share, turn the music on, do my thing, and then import it and just clip all the setup crap out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That totally works.
All right.
That totally works.
But I get what you're saying. If I wanted to do a live thing,
if you wanted
to, which I might want to do, I might, find that I really get into this, and so I want to do some live streaming and have multiple camera shots, and then sit there myself doing it, because it's not like I have maybe I could convince the dog to be my
like 2.0.
It's a one man show.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So
the lighting. Did you have any specific recommendations of brand of lighting?
There's a lot of brand of lightings which cost a lot more money, but I found some Amazon, either Lumo Studio or I can send you a link of something that I purchased myself. It outputs about 2,400 watts of light,
Okay.
and you can have multiple, and it comes with 3 sets or 3 lights,
Are
and you
these things
can.
pretty portable, or am I going to have like more crap in my basement?
I can send you a picture, and you can
Okay.
decide.
Because ideally, something that looks like a flat monitor but has
Mm-hmm.
this white light would be
Mm-hmm.
something that's easy to store would be another
No,
feature
absolutely.
for it.
So these things have these big hoods that just softens the light, and there are LED panels that you can probably prefix, but they cost a little more.
Hmm.
So something to play with, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's I'm interested in this. I don't know why. It's just, but I guess if I'm sitting on your podcast called Hobbies and Hacks, I'm in the right. But it's just something I've always been curious about.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person that, I don't want to get distracted from what I really do and kind of lose my focus of doing
Mm-hmm.
one thing pretty well. But I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
think it's useful to just have some pickup skills in some of these other areas so that you can make your overall presentation of things much better. And if I do want to share some things out on Facebook or something like that, I don't want it to look like crap. I want it
Yeah.
to be good.
Absolutely.
And I know your stuff looks good. I mean, as much as I'm not that interested in your commute home,
Sure.
I always marvel at the cinematography and the quality of what you do. It's very high quality.
Appreciate it. Yeah. The drive home and the drive to work, that's all just a phone, man. Just this front facing phone. And I have used some other applications. For example, recently I did a Facebook Live from within virtual reality.
Huh.
And Facebook, as you remember or not, they purchased Oculus Rift a few
Yeah.
years ago for $2 billion.
Yeah.
So when they introduced their first application that Facebook did on Oculus Rift was called Facebook Spaces. And this would enable you and 3 other of your VR buddies to hang out in a virtual space.
Wow.
And you can then live broadcast from within that or call people up from within that. Like I've made a phone call from within VR to somebody on Facebook Messenger. And he's like, "Oh my God, what am I looking? I do not have words for this."
That's
Because you
wild.
have your own personal avatar, 3D avatar. And it was pretty cool.
My neighbor has an HTC Vive,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got the geofencing, so we're down
Mm-hmm.
at home theater, so the audio is pretty killer. And
Yeah.
he brought me down there, and there were a couple of apps that, I mean, Google Earth and Google Paint, and then there was
Mm-hmm.
one where it was like a boat underwater and a
Yep.
swam up. But it was really intense. The one thing I would say though is that I was still tethered with a pretty heavy headset on.
Yes.
And like after about 30 minutes, I felt the fatigue. I was
Yeah.
getting sweaty, but it was just,
Mm-hmm.
it was unbelievably relaxing to
Yeah.
do the paint thing with the music.
Mm-hmm.
And also on Google Earth, I do have to confess, I felt like either somewhere between a superhero and a god. Like,
He's just flying around.
yeah, you could go up and see the whole Earth, and it's moving around with your hands like a giant globe, and then
Mm-hmm.
back down and walk around the streets. And I was like, this is so cool, this technology.
Yeah.
It's definitely the future. I'm just surprised it hasn't really caught on as fast as it could. Just to kind of bridge both of these conversations, one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that to me, it sounds like a gimme idea, and I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
someone's pursuing it, is, it's so freaking expensive to,
It is. That's the problem. Mm-hmm.
but no, hear me out, to see concerts, right? I mean, there's
Yes.
real concerts I want to see, but you go look at it and you're like, $500, I don't like the band that much.
Yeah.
For me, I could buy an instrument for $500.
Exactly.
The notion of being able to see the concert virtually, to be there while the concert's being filmed. It could be after the fact. It would be more exciting if it were live. And then to be able to stand on stage and look at the crowd while the band's performing, worth money to me. I would spend, $100 for that ticket.
Yeah.
And not even go. Just be there. So,
just be there,
they've got a certain amount of seats that they're filling up at I don't know how many hundreds of dollars a ticket. It seems to me that the economics of, if you can, at $50 or $75 if you want, forget about backstage access, front stage, or front stage and backstage access.
Yeah.
I'm not there. It doesn't cost them anything. They need the camera. Now, I don't know if the camera is too disruptive for the regular live paying people, but just this notion of being able to get on stage and see what they're seeing and kind of just get a sip, a little taste of what that feels like would be awesome.
No, absolutely. Muse actually records all of their concerts in 3D, in 360-degree video. And there was one time I was visiting their website, and you can switch between different cameras and watch their show, like their performance from the stage, from different angles.
VR.
360. So what's cool about VR is that you can go into a 360-degree video and look around. So I'm going to do some research and see if I can go watch those videos in my VR, because I have the same HTC Vive, and it's come a long way. Actually, recently they introduced a wireless unit, so you're now no longer tethered to the computer and have, because you can only move like 10 feet from the computer.
Right.
But now with the wireless tech, it's cool. There's another application called Mind Show. Now I haven't broadcasted this on Facebook yet, but they launched sometime last year, and they've been working a lot on improving how this application works. Mind Show enables you to create your own scripted show in virtual reality. So you can have, let's say you have a 3-person performance or a 2-person talking thing. You can take over an avatar in virtual reality and record your own scene, and then skip out and then go to the next person and do the other part of the scene. Now you've got a whole scene with 2 people talking to each other.
Wow. Yeah. I guess that's where the future's going. And 5-10 years from now, we'll look back at it and laugh about how arcane it seemed right now. But it's still, from where we are today, it
seems
very cool. It just seems mind blowing in terms of what that experience is, because you can't envision beyond it. I wonder if they'll ever have a need for, one of the things I liked about the Vive is that the geofencing, where I could actually walk around the room and not just be stationary. And I was telling my friend, I was like, I wonder if you're gonna see like big warehouses rented out. That's really just space for people to walk around in, like, kind of like Westworld or something. You could walk through a whole virtual reality city. I mean, I saw some things where they had like a machine where it was like a treadmill where you're walking, but you're really not going anywhere.
Yep.
And that's obviously an easier way to do it. The only problem with that is, you don't want to accidentally fall off the treadmill.
Right. So what I have myself is called the Omni, Virtuix Omni, and they raised a ton of money, and they're all over. They're focusing on commercial sales now. So you could go to a theme park and you can have a 4-person VR hangout where you're in your space, in your spot, and you're running around.
Oh, okay.
In a virtual game. In fact, at one of the theme parks we went to, they had a 4-person VR experience as well. But you're just sitting in one place or standing in one place shooting down these aliens.
No, you got to be moving.
Yeah, you got to be moving. And so that's what Omni enables you. They have these shoes that you can put on that and you can run in one place, and you basically wear a harness. You stay in this little device,
Oh,
and you
wow.
can even sit. You can basically lift your legs up and pretend you're sitting down, and or you could be running. And people are running pretty fast in it, and they're playing different games, virtual games, where because right now the only way to move around is the teleport feature,
Mm, yeah.
but this enables you so you can actually run with physical body and be carrying gear and equipment. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, the whole notion of kind of being there, being inside whatever it is, whether it's a game or a movie, I just think that it's probably going to be, at some point in the future, it's going to feel like we were living in a very 2D world
Yes.
when we're watching a movie. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the difference between the old TVs that didn't have remotes and were black and white, and you went
Mm-hmm.
with the rabbit ear antennas and you turned the channel, and then
Yeah.
TV that's now integrated into my Alexa or
Yeah.
and it just does it. And so I think that VR, that whole VR entertainment and viewing
Mm-hmm.
experience,
Yeah.
which I guess is probably going to be pioneered by porn first, but at some point, that's where it's all headed. It's just
It is. Yeah.
when do you get there and who the winners and losers are. Hey, one question for you is,
Sure.
what does your family think of all this stuff? Because you're so deep into this. Like, did they start calling you? Who's the guy from The Matrix?
Neo?
Neo. Are you Neo? Does that like your kids go, Neo? Dinner's ready.
Not yet, because they don't have the concept of that. My kids are too young.
Oh, I know you've got like the whole clan there.
Yeah.
5, 6 kids.
I have 3 kids:
Oh,
8-year-old, 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old almost.
are you done? I mean, can you have some? Just have some. Tell your wife you can just start having some VR kids.
I've got one of my kids banging on the door. He wants to go play outside.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I listen. I really appreciate the information you've given.
You're welcome.
I'll let you know where I end up, but I'm definitely gonna try some of that stuff out, and maybe at some point I can come back and talk about a different topic.
You know what's really funny is that you're asking about that specific topic. I'm actually working on a book chapter talking exactly about mobile video production.
Really?
And I'm also working on a video course on mobile video production.
You just I'm kind of crazy, so I just two different ideas collide.
Mm-hmm.
Second,
Yeah.
I read a story earlier today about how Amazon
Mm-hmm.
is getting into the publishing industry and just having the authors write directly for them. And so you don't need a publisher. You can just be an Amazon employee, I guess, or an Amazon contracted employee and write the book, and they'll produce
Mm-hmm.
it for you. But I was just thinking when you said you were writing a chapter, I'm sure that's a chapter as part of a book. But I wonder if people, how like in music, people
Mm-hmm.
stopped buying albums and just started buying songs.
Yeah.
I wonder if books might go that same path where it's, I don't have to write the whole book. I can just write a chapter. It's
Yeah.
how interested people are and whether or not I should write the second chapter.
Well, to tell you the truth, that would be a really interesting way of writing a fiction novel. You get 4 people together and you say, okay, this is the timeline of the story, and this is the story that we want to talk about.
Person writes a chapter
Yeah.
without knowing what you just know the characters, but you don't know what their relationship is.
Exactly. And then you somehow...
I've seen a bunch of crappy movies are kind of like that, where you go, is this how they produced it?
Yeah.
But then invariably there's some friends of mine who are like, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. That was shit. Then they applied some good video editing to it. They ran it backwards.
Yeah.
Through the storyline. I felt that way about Memento. I had some.
Yeah, Memento went backwards.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not getting any of this.
No. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned, you could just do a chapter, because this book, the book that I'm contributing a chapter to, is the editor or the main author. He's contacted 24 different professionals in their own space. So it's more like a how-to book where you can buy this book and learn how to do 24 different things and how to go from 0 to 60.
No, I've seen books like that, like success stories, and here's all the
Yes. Yeah. Something like that.
So, well, I'm glad I got it for free and just shared it with the world. So
Exactly.
good luck to that guy who's selling the book.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun. Anytime you have any other questions, you know where to reach me.
Yeah, let me know. I always like to hear myself talk, so anytime.
Okay, I will let you know when this podcast goes live.
All right, sounds good.
All right, take care.
Take it easy. Bye.
All right, bye. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the episode. Thanks so much for listening to our guest on this episode. Please send me an email at junaid@hacksandhobbies.com to tell me what you loved about our guest today. You could find links mentioned in this episode on the hacksandhobbies.com website.